we have seen that wherever we work, we add value, we add try to do better. And as far as the now, when you want to make it influence changes, then it should be a role where which can be given opportunity to influence. That's where the board positions will give you opportunity to guide a proper guidance for the.
Hello and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast series by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm truly looking forward to today's conversation because joining me is someone who brings decades of real world insight and deep strategic thinking to the table. Mr. Ladella, it's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be with you. I'm looking forward for the meaningful conversation.
Absolutely. Across India, the Middle East, and even Hong Kong, Mr. Ladella has left his mark on everything from high rise towers to retail hubs and even desalination plants. But beyond the scale and scope of projects, what's most compelling is his ability to bridge on ground construction realities with boardroom level strategy, something not many can pull off with such consistency.
Thank you for such a generous words, Priya. It has been rewarding journey working all across. So, uh, what I can say, my tagline for the WhatsApp is that a Japanese word called kaizen, which means
Kaizen.
which means improvement every day, or you can say. So that's what which I believe in, and so
Right.
there is always a scope for the improvement.
Absolutely. And on that very inspiring note, let's continue. Mr. Nanda Kishore Ladella is currently heading the Techno-Commercial function for a private equity firm, and he's leading the development of multi-million square foot real estate assets, all while serving as a non-executive director, shaping the vision behind them. With over 34 years in the industry, multiple global credentials, and a keen focus on governance, Mr. Ladella embodies what it means to be both hands on and future ready.
Yeah, see, the future ready is at the catch. It's an era of artificial intelligence,
True.
and this leadership doesn't mean simply constructing some square footage of construction area. This is a bridging gap between the construction to the leadership. That's valuable, and you should always, as I said in my tagline, is a kaizen. So it is the one every day you add value to your professional journey or even personal journey.
Exactly. And I'm like I said earlier, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And today's conversation is all about that. So let's start off without further ado. Mr. Ladella, we'd love for you to take us to the very beginning of your career journey, how it all started, and how it has changed or taken shape over the years. Uh, if you could just, narrate your story in your own words.
Absolutely, it's actually a long, deeply transitional and joyful journey which I had all these years. So the early years of my career, I've introduced to the architectural as a subject into the, uh, even though it doesn't fit my skill set to match with the particular discipline, but it gave me a skill which I cherish even today also. It gave me the skill of imagination, creativity which you can create, and which give the concept of expectation, the risks, and what is your forethought, all these skills which you have gained from that particular artificial division. So while I moved on from architecture to the other disciplines, I managed to excel in different disciplines of construction industry, be it civil engineering, be it the project management, be it the quantity surveying or sustainability, all this is. As far as the education point of view, I have academics managed to get into the masters in engineering and certifications like a RICS certification and Edge green accreditations. This was able to manage to it. And the formative stage of my career, which is most of my base formed when I was working in the Middle East for 9 years in a one firm, which gave me enormous sound base for me to move on. Even it's a international construction company with a Belgium as their head office, who's involved in different across in the Middle East. During that period, I was explored or involved in the infrastructure projects like a desalination projects or sewage treatment plants or drill and blast tunnel projects, or as high-rise building like Emirate Towers in Dubai, and also airports, interiors of airports like a Dubai airport interiors. And also, in fact, I was fortunate enough to work on a development of airbase for some of the foreign defense systems in the Middle East. And all this. And while I was in this one firm working on these projects, I was able to gain a knowledge from end to end of the projects, which really gave me the cracks or leadership skills. So when the project is coming to end, our company focus is moved from this project to new project because that's where the revenue generation. But whereas the client is focused 100% at the time of handover. So that's where I was able to manage the client expectations and the closer snacks. All that is given an enormous insight, thought, and how to match the expectation of the clients, what all that was there. So from there, I've transitioned to India in a leadership role to the consultant firm called KPK Quantity Surveyors, which is AECOM now. As I've taken up a role of their branch head in Hyderabad. Under this role, I was responsible for the business development and service delivery. So this was a bit of change because I came from the international exposure, the method of workings, from there to Indian style of working, and I've joined a firm which is more focused on the quantity surveying services, which is a relatively new services in India, whereas it's evolved services in Middle East and other part of the world. So that's a challenge. But with my international experience, I'm able to produce a quality of services, which in turn help to develop the business and able to manage, build a sustainable workforce and involved in the developments of projects of SEZ and multi-use projects and future-ready residential projects. That was there. So spent around 5.5 years there. Then from there, I moved on to a private equity firm as a client development role. This again, it's 1 month. So see, all these are in the similar flow. See, as from contracting to the consultancy firm to the one client firm. These are all part of the same flow, but at different stages or different stakeholders. This when I was in private equity works, we have developed, we are invested into around 35 projects across India, which is towards around $2.5 billion focused Indian real estate fund, which is there. But this gave me a different perspective, especially the clients is foreign direct investors. They were exposed to different international deliverable projects. Their quality expectations are different. Their safety expectations are different. Whereas developers, we are not geared for that much. So that's where building the gap between the international expectations to the local developers, which gave a actually one sense of a satisfaction because of your adding value. You are changing your construction industry level to different level. So that's what I was able to bridge the gap between the requirements and educate the developers and bring the new technologies and build a future-proof buildings. So I spent around 12 years in the same development role with the different aspects of the building. Then from there, I moved on to the non-executive director role for a mixed-use development. And from there, again, I moved on to the technical operational director for the retail centers running across India for 6 centers. That's what is a snapshot of my journey, which I have 34 years journey, which I have faced.
All right. I think that's very inspiring. And what I realized through your response was there is a lot of determination, a lot of grit. There is a lot of learning and unlearning that must have happened at every stage. So thank you for sharing that with us, Mr. Ladella. Now, like you mentioned, stepping into the shoes of a non-executive director for a 5 million square feet SPV, and that's like a different perspective, right? So we are curious, what did that shift feel like for you personally? Going from being right there on the ground to now, having the opportunity to influence from the boardroom. How did that change the way you saw a project or even your own role in it?
Absolutely. Actually, there's been a paradigm shift in every sense. So in my previous role, as I explained, each one is a part of a similar continuous flow of it, rooted in execution and operationals and leadership roles. However, transition from the execution to non-execution role, it is a fundamentally a different experience. What do you say? As a non-executive director, we have a challenges and at the same time privileges and balancing your position and how you guide the team, and you are in a position to influence the outcomes, which actually it's a more responsible because as a especially Indian way of directorship and everything, then you are responsible to safeguard the company interest at the same time welfare of the stakeholders involved in all respect, and you have to be mindful to the environment what you're creating and how it is going to impact social impact. This and all is going to be a different thought process. And also it gives a governance, right? It depends how do you drive your governance. You set example how you do and what you guide it. So it's a delicate balance between a company's health and in the same financial health and everything, at the same time your welfare of the people working on that one, and how you're able to how you're able to give processes which really are driven by the strategies. So this is a different domain. And in fact, actually, this gave me one skill which we have not had it before. It's given a skill where we can have a clear, concise communication and building a consensus in the system and persuading somebody to make sure to agree the viewpoints, what is there. This is what the skill which is really a requirement of I learned when I took over the board.
Right. So that shift in perspective that you talked about, Mr. Ladella, it really shows how your lens with all the experience that you have accumulated over time and experiences has widened over time. And I think that's a very important evolution from building structures to actually being behind, shaping policies and vision. Um, Speaking of scale, with the kind of national level responsibility you've had, especially around budget control, contract management, so we would love to know, where do you feel most developers tend to miss the mark when they're trying to, make it big or scale big?
No, so it is actually a pertinent question with respect to the construction industry in India. I can say the developers, what in Indian real estate has suddenly boomed. And when the market is opened up into the early 90s, opened up, then in 2005, you got a FDI which allowed there. ACCs come into place. So the projects become very big as compared. See, it's as compared to the Europe, where real estate development has happened in linear development over the decades, which gave them the opportunity to develop the skill along with that too, and also to advance mission automation or construction mechanisms, all that they had a possibility. Where India, we developers didn't have most of the before 2005 and before that, most of real estate developers in India are a small project developer. Even the bigger developer has a bigger layout, but they were doing the phase by phase. So which talent, which the experience what they have is it's an incremental approach from one to one, but that is not really sufficient for the complex projects which you develop as a mixed use and the bigger project, larger projects. Larger project starts from the 5 acres to and it goes up to the hundreds of acres. So that's where it is. So that's where you have a 4 5 segments where the builders are. What is it? One is your skilled manpower, which again, as I said, it is lacking. And then when you developer lacking an experience of bigger, larger developers, so naturally what happened is that the developers we have to bring in a international design consultant, PMCs, who has expertise in this one. And also this international consultants and PMCs are coming to picture even because of the foreign direct investment consultants. They were asking, they were recommending people, so you're importing them in India. Unfortunately, sometimes they not sufficiently understand the local conditions, which resulted in a mismatch of impractical designs and then subsequently costly modifications. This is what it was a requirement happened there. Now, other factor which local developers, which is there, is a cash flow.
Correct.
The projects, because the cash flow, they were dependent on the advance sales to fund their construction. Instead of they are following a structured financing from the banking system. So this depending on the funds from the sales, which resulted into that the project was dependent on the market fluctuations and determine whether success or failure depends on that. That's what is the one aspect. Other thing is long-term vision. So long-term vision is that it was evident at the time. Most of the has a short-term vision at the gains in a picture, which hindered their ability to plan for long-term, sustainable, scalable developments. That was the case. So this mindset, those who are developers which are got out of the short-term gain mindset, they're not even survived. Actually, they thrived in India. If you see the developers, bigger developers in India is
right.
So these are the 4 5 pointers which I think the developers which you should understand and act that you are new developments.
Right. And that makes sense. I think you really talked about, like, the real world problems that don't show up in reports, or may not show up in reports, but definitely impact outcomes deeply. Now, and when you talked about that perspective on scaling, Mr. Ladella, it really brought out the kind of nuance only someone who's lived through it could share. So thank you for sharing that with us. And on that note, when you talk about real estate in India, as you know better than most, there are different layers of its own. You're talking about regulatory, we are talking about cultural, operational. But from your experience, what's that one challenge you see popping up again and again? And how do you usually navigate around it?
Yeah, you asked a question very close to my heart. And I don't think so. This short duration will be sufficient for that. It needs one year, at least a
I
one,
can imagine.
1 day of workshop, which is there. But okay, we'll try to put in some perspective on it.
Yes.
Now, Indian real estate development is a complex development. It's involves so many stakeholders. Statutory is there. It depends on statutory requirements. It depends on your workforce available. It depends on the monsoons. Even it depends
Hmm.
on your uh, festival calendars. And
Correct.
it depends on your local conditions. Just several aspects are there. So now to give some, so how do we navigate? I think. See, the first thing whenever we have to do a project, okay, you have to do a due diligence on the title deeds sort of thing, which is a very important. And at this junction, the time and the money you spend is a well worth.
Hmm.
As a with several projects which have fell through at that
Hmm.
stage during my past experience. And so
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
better to have a very good law firm which has a particular knowledge in that particular areas.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
will be
Hmm.
helpful you on this one. That's one thing we are doing. Then it comes to your statutory requirements. So it's always advisable to follow all statutory requirements,
Hmm.
what is required for that particular. But thing is that this is again is depends on the location, state to state, because India is such a vast country, right? State to state it vary, place to place it vary. So the thing, how do we navigate here is that you need to get a consultant who has a knowledge about the local regulations at the same time national level regulations. So this consultant knowledge and his approach is most important for any project to success. And the statutory approvals, what you get it.
Yeah.
I've seen several projects, if the consultant doesn't have that knowledge, then you end up spending more money with the wrong interpretation of the bylaws. You're spending more. That's what is happen. So you should get a consultant is one, which is very good. Then further comes to the other one is a site investigation, which a must,
Hmm.
which I have seen several projects where we are working on the borehole investigation, what we did, what was there in the paper, and what is there in the site is a different we've encountered, which will lead to design changes, delays, sometimes a safety concern. This
Hmm.
again means you should have a proper number of investigation need to be done. Because you have a 30 acres of land, suppose people will do only 4 or 5 boreholes, get the data, but it varies from place to
Hmm.
place. So that's where most important thing which makes you, because your foundation depends on the one, your whole structure, your initial works is depends on. That's where somebody is
Hmm.
very careful to do and do that. Then goes back to the most important factor is that your selection of the right consultants and
Right.
spending the right time. I can say right quality time with the consultants developing it. Your 80% of your construction cost, whole budget is depends on that particular design. So that's where the amount you spend, and it gives you the handle for everything. So design in the design you will bring the sustainability. You can design, you bring it to your operation efficiencies, and in the
Hmm.
design you'll able to foresee all the problems. So there's a
Hmm.
coordination with the consultant. So that's where very important for you to, nowadays you're getting the tools to do that, like a BIM and other things which can help you to navigate the complexity which is coming instead of execution days. That's one is very major role plays in a design control solution. So even see, based on my experience, I have did several due diligence for the projects for acquiring for the private equities also.
Right.
I've noticed a lot of over designs in the sections of MEPs. Even certain places, chillers are lying there for not even used for years together. But the flip side is that if you do under design, all your building design functionally will affect. And it's a again retrofitting is a complex time and consuming. So that's what is and more or less, but I have a general rule when I was doing it all. One general rule I was following it, which is again I picked up during my architectural interest stages. It's called a form follows function. Right?
Okay.
If form you design,
Form follows function.
form
Correct.
the function. It's to be function requirement. It has to
You
serve
see that in it's like biomimicry in a way. It's something that you see what nature does. Like, the way things are formed or shaped, they all have a function. They're just not shaped for the sake of it. So yeah.
That's one. And before that, I want to tell you one more area which really we as a India developers or India in real estate industry which have to learn is and more specific an area because of this where which I noticed. It's a waterproofing systems in design India. If you give it in India, out of 100, 1995 buildings, you have a water leakages in the commercial.
True.
This is specifically happens because of there's no specialized consultants available in India. And the products are applied wrongly. And it needs a specialized supervision, specialized thought process, and also again, it's also behavioral aspects also come. It's like a fire safety systems, also waterproofing also part of it. It's behavior of the persons, like you're cleaning up the drains are very important. So terraces generally are designed for the water runoff, not for water retaining. So problem is that sequencing also makes a difference. When a design happens, I've seen the projects. Waterproofing comes, the designs done, civil works done, waterproofing done, then move on. The other contract comes and start working on the place again. So they block all the natural runways or water flow channels for the terrace. Then it turning into a water retaining structure. Whereas you have not designed the structure for that water retaining, it's only water runoff. So this is a very complex but unfortunately in India, still we are not mastered it. There's no special consultants, but this one area which people are very careful in designing. That's one. And come back to form follows function, which defines a form again defines with 3 dimensions, right? Form any form is 3 dimensions, which is static one, which is again its shape and the size and texture. If you are make this correct, you cannot go wrong on anything. This thing. Other things are the 5 dimensional, your operations, all of things comes as next to time related. But these are the things which is there in the real estate projects, which you have to be careful.
Right, right. Makes sense. Mr. Ladella, with everything you've built and contributed so far, and clearly there's a legacy in motion, but we want to know what's next for you. So, do you see yourself leaning deeper into more boardroom roles, or perhaps maybe there's a personal aspiration that still keeps you curious and driven? We'd love to know.
Yeah, it's always I believed in that giving back to the society that which shaped my professional career. I came from where to where. Today, what I'm here is always happened just because of this society, which has helped me to groom into this position. So, as a principal, I always think before even when I'm going to bed, I would ask my question: did I add any value today to the professional, personal, or anywhere? That's where I came from. That principle, and that's where when I'm seeing that wherever we work, we add value. We try to do that one. And as far as now, when you want to make it influence changes, then you should be a role where which can be give a opportunity to influence. That's where the board positions will give you opportunity to guide and proper guidance for the next generation or the projects where you can able to uh, able to convince people or be able to give the thought process and be able to produce a more sustainable structure. See, during my career, when I'm during agencies, I've noticed several aspects which would have been gone right if you had applied right thought and right skill set at the time. Unfortunately, so all this can be possible only if you have a proper guidance for these things. So everybody learns from their personal experiences, mistakes they will do it. But a person who learns from others' mistakes, that makes a difference. So where whatever the experience what we gained and how we able to pass it on, that's where one forum which I think will able to make a difference to it. And also as an expert in green edge certification, edge city also, the sustainability requirements, all this will able to drive down from the top. So which is
ground up.
So this what is equate. And I believe actually everybody performs well if he has a conviction on the process what they're following and the outcome what they believe. So this conviction you'll able to bring in only at the senior roles and they're saying, so how do you do it? So always that's what I believe. So it's a again it gives a culture of governance or your statutory compliances. All these are important, which was makes a difference between execution to the guidance or the board level.
Right, right. And that's really inspiring to hear, Mr. Ladella. And on that note, you did mention in your response about sustainability, which has become such a defining part of that conversation. As someone who is certified as an edge expert, how do you see green buildings and responsible development reshaping the way commercial real estate is planned and built in India today?
Yeah, actually, it's a great question. Sustainability is nowadays, it's not even now, it's gone days where for certification purpose. It is a need of the hour now. And with the knowledge in that domain, what I can say is that sustainability doesn't mean using the jargons or thing. It's sustainability is nothing but basic principles. Sustainability is nothing but a cure. It's not a cure. Actually, it is a prevention. For example, if you take air conditioning, when you're air conditioning the building inside, you are curing the heat which is already inside the building. So that's a cure. It's a medicine you are giving it. But whereas come to sustainability, if it comes, if green building comes, you try to do how to prevent heat enter the building. That's a prevention. So this is what, as a Indians, we already have this inbuilt in our nature also, the prevention and also multi-use of the equipment, reuse of the products. This all there inbuilt in our heredity from the start. So I think now the sustainability green buildings for the commercial is more up today because of it gives you the operational efficiency to the extent that it makes a difference around 10 to 20% of your operational efficiency, which really helps. And this, for example, Edge, if you take Edge is a certification which talks about it is a relative. It doesn't see how the others peers performing in your area and what you're performing. You should perform 20% better than that, 40% better than that. Than other certification, which is a sector defined certifications. If you lead or ESG. So this one area which they have come up with, IFC has come up with this particular one, it's a beautiful idea now. And now the smarter buildings, when you build a smarter buildings which consumes less power, which makes a convenience for the people to work in, and which gives the healthiness of the people, right? It goes from the starting of even suppose selecting a proper chair for your workforce. That makes a difference. You might be spending 10 rupees extra on the selecting the chair, but it gives a healthy for your workforce, the in product, it can product. And this now, given AI, given industry that we are, given the automation system in place, this becomes very easy, sustainable. Because it's a decisions can make based on the data what is available with you. Data can available with automation. So as we speak, I'm doing several small projects, mini projects in the operation centers, focusing only on proactive maintenance, preventive maintenance with the help of automated IoT and AI, which gives you the sustainability results. That's what I can say. It is must. Everybody, you have to build it. But this can happen only at the design stage. If you concentrate, you'll be able to do it without any additional cost.
True. And like you mentioned, sustainability is not just a checkbox anymore. It's part of the value narrative now. As we near the end of the interview, Mr. Ladella, we'd love to hear what drew you to join Directors Institute and how has that experience been for you so far? How has it added value or perspective at this stage of your journey?
Yeah, it's like I can explain it. Director Institute, actually, I found it very, what you can say, comprehensive. And it gives a very good foundation. See, especially people like me who has experience in the execution, experience in the technical-commercials, experience in the basic leadership. But this grooms you, this will institute are able to, in a more professional way, able to expose us to the how the board works, what is the requirement of governance, how do you do sustainability, and how do you able to help in decision making. This is a value creation for you. It's like, see, you and how do you do the statutory requirement? This you cannot get outside. It's only either you by experience you learn it, but no college teaches you this one, or you are self-running, but it's difficult. So if you're self-running with all that aspects, very difficult. So this is where the platform which has combined all together to equip you to deal with if you're dealing with any boards or anything. That's what is the case. And moreover, then here it is actually collaborated with several like-minded people into the system. So you have that ecosystem where you can bounce back your ideas. That's one thing which is there. And it really helped with industry leaders talking and everything. That's not really, it forms you, it gives you a informed platform. How do you perform? How do you do in a
Which just is, it goes to show that regardless of wherever one is in their career and regardless of their experience, there's always room to grow and sharpen perspective. There is always, and I think learning has no experience or age. I think one can always invest in themselves and continue the journey of learning, right? So, Mr. Ladella, this has truly been a masterclass in leadership, grounded thinking when you talk about long-term vision, from real estate complexities to talking about governance and sustainability. And you've definitely given the audience members, including myself, a lot to think about. So thank you for sharing with us so openly and joining us on FaceTime with Leaders. It was a truly inspiring conversation.
It's a real pleasure to be here on this platform. And thank you for giving opportunity to express some of my experiences. Hope that your audience like or add value to them. Thank you.
I, I'm absolutely sure it has and it will continue to do so. And conversations like these remind us why experience and adaptability matter now more than ever. To our audience members, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders by Directors Institute. This is your host, Priya George, signing off. Stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.